These are the words of the Lord Enki, firstborn son of Anu, who reigns on Nibiru. Here is the account of the prior time, a history and overview of the Anunnaki Atlantean civilization and the chronicles to Earth that occurred. Long ago, before the prior times was the beginning. After the prior times, in the olden times, the gods came to Earth and engineered the earthlings. In the prior times, none of the gods were on Earth, nor were the earthlings yet engineered. In the prior times, the abode of the gods was on their own planet, Nibiru its name, a great wide orbiting planet, reddish in radiance, creating an extended orbit around the sun. There are times that Nibiru is involved in cold, and other times that the bright sun shines again. Nibiru is involved with a thick atmosphere. This atmosphere is constantly fueled by volcanic eruptions. In the cold period, the atmosphere keeps the heat, like a coat that covers the entire planet. In the warm period, the atmosphere protects Nibiru. In the middle periods, between heat and cold times, rains gain strength, often consistency to lakes and rivers. Nibiru is covered in lush vegetation that feeds and protects the atmosphere. From them, all kinds of life arouse in both the waters and land, due to the Pleiadians that seeded the planet millions years before for evolving life. After aeons of time, a forgotten royal hybrid race found refuge on empty Nibiru after being exiled from all other civilizations. This was due to the rejection of their mixed heritage of Draconian and Lyran ancestry. It was there our people gave ourselves the name Atlanteans. Over time, the Atlanteans of Nibiru multiplied and took place in the valleys, plains, and mountains. They set up homes, built cities, and civilizations began. It was then, at this time period, millions of races left the Orion and Pleiadian star clusters due to the wars and came to Nibiru for refuge. Our society is one of many people of numerous civilizations, and our ancestors welcomed them. However, rivalries began to occur. Brother amassed against brother, clans gathered into tribes. Then two polar nations of Atlanteans of Nibiru were established. The nation of the north against the nation of the south took up arms and set up weapons of terror against each other. Death and destruction swept across the lands both north and south. Destruction overtook all of Nibiru. For a long time, desolation took place on Nibiru. In time, the Anunnaki Atlanteans' history and interstellar connections faded into myths. However, during the ensuing era of wars on Nibiru, they reclaimed much of their lost technological prowess and consciousness. Sacred remnants of their past, including ancient nuclear warheads and advanced lasers, were revered and meticulously studied, leading to renewed scientific advancements. By this time, of discovering their relics of the past and finished with the constant battling from both sides, the North and South nations decided to declare a truce, and soon cries of peace arose everywhere. Nations shall unite, and only one throne shall there be on Nibiru. Let there be one king to rule them all, they declared. The chosen king should be of native Atlantean blood to the north or the south. A consort would also be chosen, but from the opposite region. Thus, North and South would be united in the figure of a monarchical king and queen. Husband and wife were one flesh, and the child born of their union would be the successor. With a new royal dynasty would soon be formed. The one chosen to rule was a mighty warrior and commander from the north. By lots, true and fair, was he chosen. His decrees in unity were accepted. For his abode he built a great city called Agadi, meaning unity. He was given the title of An, which means select. Thus, order was re-established in the lands, laws, and regulations. For his spouse the south a maiden had chosen, for both love and warring she was noted. Antu was her royal title, the leader who is An's spouse, the given name meant. She bore 3 sons and no daughters. The firstborn son was by her named Anki. Anki remained alone on the throne, even though the concubines who came to the palace did not bear him children. Thus, the dynasty that had just begun was interrupted as soon as he died. The middle son, though not the firstborn, was named the rightful heir. he received the title of Anib, which means the one in the middle, to justify his position among the brothers. Anib married Ninib, which means the Lady of Ib. Together they had a son named Anshargal, the successor to the throne and the fourth of the kings to rule Nibiru. His wife was his half-sister Kishargal. Of his reign had been the greatest legacy. His intention and goals was to unify the people. And he did it when the northern feast and the southern feast that served everyone. It was in the reign of Anshargal and Kishargal that the law of husband and wife, and of sons and of daughters, was created. These customs of the first tribes of Nibiru were established to be followed. The law had been written. It stated that a woman should be chosen as an official wife, and this was the first wife. From the many wars, females greatly outnumbered the males. Decrees were made. One male was to have more than one female. By law, one wife as official spouse would be chosen. She would be known as the first wife. By law, the firstborn son would be his father's successor. Confusions, disputes, and wars did not take long to be created. If the firstborn son was not from the first wife's, but the second son was who would be the legitimate heir. In Anshargal's reign, concubines were once again brought into the royal palace. And so, the concubines had sons and daughters. Some time later, the legitimate wife Kishargal had a son. By law, the son of Anshargal and Kishargal was the rightful heir, though not the firstborn. Kishargal, his mother, Anshargal's true and lawful wife, shouted angrily, "If according to the laws my son of a firstborn wife is deprived of the succession, do not let the double seed be neglected. Although from different mothers, the king and I are descended from the same father, the king before him. I am the king's half-sister, and from me the king is also half-brother. So my son has the double seed of our father, Anib. Let, in succession, the law of the seed over the law of marriage prevail. Let, in succession, the son of a half-sister, whenever he is born, rise above others in succession." And Anshargal the king decided as Kishargal, his wife and half-sister, had said. Their son, though not the firstborn, was proclaimed the next king. The law of seed had been adopted for succession, and thus the divergence between lawful wife and concubine had been decided. The new king was given the title of Anshar, the fifth on Nibiru's throne. Anshar took his half-sister named Kishar as his wife, and so, even if Anshar had children by the concubines, the rightful heir would be the son of the king and queen. During his reign, Nibiru's fields reduced their harvests, and much of the food source lost their abundance. From cycle to cycle, from Shah to Shah, the problems grew more and more. In time, sages and scholars had been called to investigate what was happening. Some said it had happened before, and on that time it was happening again. That was Nibiru's destiny, they said. Others concluded that a hole had appeared in the atmosphere, and that volcanoes no longer erupted as before, which made the air more tenuous, and Nibiru's protective shield considerably reduced its level of efficiency. Under these conditions, the sixth king had assumed the throne. Enshar was his name, son of Anshar and Kishar, and his name meant noble master of the Shah. Enshar studied rigorously and looked for an answer in other planets and atmospheres. He gave the planets different names, honoring their ancestors and kings before him. Enshar named the region near the sun the Hammered Bracelet and announced that the region was protected from intruders by various asteroids. Enshar continued studying, looking for the people of Nibiru. But from Shah to Shah, which is 3,000 Earth years each, the hole grew more and more. The scholars on their councils discussed what to do, but there seemed to be no solution. Someone had pronounced the idea to try artificially stimulate volcanoes to produce new eruptions to resolve the hole in the atmosphere. Nevertheless, on Enshar's reign, the hole only grew. It felt like some kind of curse. The rain occurred, the winds blew stronger, and the springs did not emerge. As his first wife, Enshar's half-sister and Queen Ninshar did not bear any children. Then by a concubine of Enshar, a son was born. The firstborn son he was. By Ninshar, first wife and half-sister, a son was not brought forth. By the law of succession, the concubine's son the throne ascended. the seventh to reign he was. Du-Uru was his royal name. In the dwelling place fashioned was its meaning. In the house of concubines, not in the palace, was he indeed conceived. As his spouse a maiden from his youth beloved Duru, he chose as his selected first wife, and not a wife by seed. Dauru was her royal name. Confusion then took place. In the royal palace, children were not heirs and wives were not half-sisters. As if this fact were not enough, sons and daughters of the king were not even born. The royal confusion had spread far and wide, like the hole in Nibiru's atmosphere that grew more and more. Desperate Duru, the seventh seed of An, along with his wife Doru, decided to adopt a boy. They named him Lama and pronounced him the rightful heir, who was subsequently made king. Sages and scholars eventually came to a solution to the new king, Lahma. Gold, they shouted to King Lahma, the only element that is durable and non-corrosive. If ground to a fine powder, pulverized in the air, it could become suspended, and thus the gap could close, offering the necessary protection. Gold, the sages said, was abundant near the hammered bracelet of the Milky Way galaxy quadrant. And from this moment on, advanced and massive technological spaceships began to be built. Another group suggested the use of weapons of terror, launching missiles at volcanoes to stimulate their atmosphere. But Lama, the king of Nibiru, did not take action. And then Nibiru counted one Shah. And then another Shah. Conflicts stretched across the kingdom. Food and water were scarce. At the royal court, sages came and went. But the king did not listen to advisors and sages, only to his wife, Lahama. The third and fourth Shah passed, and the count already reached 14,400 years, if we counted Earth's time. Let us supplicate for the Creator of all. Let's plead with the Creator of all instead of acting, advised the king's wife. But the people, the sages, and the advisors were desperate. Something needed to be done. We need a decision, a definition, said the crowd in protest. And it was a prince of ancient heritage who first touched weapons and begun a rebellion against Lama. He announced that a new time had arrived and urged others to follow him. The prince's name was Halalu and was the eldest of the four princes. Lama shall no longer be the king, said Halalu. From now on, I will be attack Lama and make him leave the throne. The other princes followed, and a chase began inside the great palace. Finally, at the Tower of Nibiru, Halalu found Lama and faced him in a battle of which only one of the two would be alive. The warrior Halalu won the battle and killed Lama. Then he proclaimed himself the king, beyond any advisor or law. Halalu is now the new king. The priests and sages announced. Halalu was not wrong. Lama was at least an adopted one of the generations of An, and a new time had begun. Who was Halalu? Was he a legal heir? Was he firstborn? By what right did he usurp? Was he not a kingslayer? Before the seven who judges, Halalu was summoned, his fate to be considered. Before the seven who judge, Halalu spread his pleas. Though neither legal heir nor a firstborn, a son of royal seed indeed he still was. Of Anshargal, I am descended, before the judges he claimed. Via concubine, my ancestor was born to him. Alam was his name. By the count of Shahs, Alam was the firstborn. The throne to him was belonged. By the queen, his rights were put aside. A law of the seed she created, for her son the kingship was obtained. My forefather Alam of kingship was deprived. To her son instead, it was granted. By descent of Alam's generations, I was conceived. The seed of Anshargal is within me. The seven who judged to Halalu's words gave heed. To the council of counselors they passed the matter, truth or falsehood to ascertain. The royal annals from the House of Records were brought forth. With much care, they were read. Anshargal was a firstborn, the throne he ascended. Of him I am descended. Halalu to the counselors he cried out. By the law of succession to him, King Shonged. With hesitation, the counselors made Halalu swear an oath of truth. Halalu swore the oath of life or death as king. They then summoned the elders, and they summoned the 3 other princes before them. From among the princes, a young, strong and wise prince stepped forward. The young prince objected their decision of Halalu. Succession must be reconsidered. To the assembly he said, "Of the purest of seed I am descended. The essence of An in me is preserved, by no kind diluted." The councillors heard the words with amazement. The prince was summoned to come closer. They asked for his name. "It is Anu, after my great forefather An, I was named." They inquired about his generations of An. Anu then reminded them of the 3 sons of An. "Enuru is my great ancestor, the eldest son of An." The councillors with wonderment looked at each other. "He is of pure descent," the generations continued, "by law and by seed which is perfect. Anu, after our forefather An, did my parents name me. From the throne we were removed, but from An's pure seed we were not removed. Let Anu be king," many councillors shouted. "Let Halalu be removed." But others urged caution. "Let's call for Halalu as well." And Halalu opened his arms to receive Anu, the prince. "We are from different descents, but we have the royal seed. Together we will bring abundance back to Nibiru. May I retain the throne, and you may be my successor. Let your eldest son marry my daughter to unify the succession." And so by common consent, Halalu would remain on the throne as the rightful heir. Prince Anu would become a cupbearer to Halalu and his successor in waiting. That was the council's decision, and in the royal annals it was inscribed. He ordered to build more celestial ships and more missionaries to search for gold in the hammered bracelet to save their dying planet Nibiru. But it was reported that none of the previous ships and missionaries has returned from the hammered bracelet. Then Halalu commanded to hurl the weapons of terror onto the volcanoes, so Nibiru's bowels may open. Mountains swayed, valleys shuddered, but the rain refused to fall and the winds gusted. The Atlantean civilization was once more in peril again, on the brink of destruction. In the royal palace, Anu was treated as a servant of Halalu and not as a prince or as he was due. And in cities, the people of Nibiru no longer worshipped their king. Instead of relief, Halalu brought only misery. And yet on the throne he remained. After the 9th Shah of Halalu's reign, Anu gave battle to Halalu. To hand-to-hand combat, with bodies naked as it was the great Atlantean tradition of their forefathers. Halalu he challenged. "Let the winner be king," Anu said. They grappled with each other in the public square of the main city Agade. Doorposts trembled and walls shook. Halalu defeated, then bent his knee to the ground as he fell on his chest. Halalu in hand-to-hand combat was defeated by Anu. Anu was now hailed as King Anu and was escorted to the throne room. Halalu did not return to the palace, and in all the commotion he stealthily escaped through the crowds, fearing that Anu might have him killed. Unbeknownst to others, the place of the celestial ships he hurriedly went. Into a missile-throwing chariot Halalu climbed. Its hatch behind him he closed. The forepart of the cabin chamber he entered, then to commander's seat he occupied. That which shows the way he lit up. With bluish aura the chamber filled. The firestones he stirred up, their hum-like music was enthralling. The chariot's great cracker he enlivened, a reddish brilliance it was casting. Unbeknownst to others, in the celestial boat, Halalu from Nibiru escaped. To a snow-hued planet called Ki, known today as Earth, Halalu set his course. By a secret from the beginning, he chose this destination. On Nibiru, exile was certain for Halalu, and his death likely. High above, in the safety of his celestial